Look out across the American Midwest, and you'll see an endless sea of green and gold stretching as far as the eye can see. These fields are more than just a beautiful landscape. They are the beating heart of a nation and the backbone of a global food system. Corn is more than a crop. It's the foundation of a global system that touches nearly every aspect of our daily lives. From the food we eat to the fuel in our cars, corn's influence is everywhere. It feeds livestock, fuels cars, and sweetens food worldwide. Corn is in breakfast cereals, sodas, and even in the plastics we use. Its reach is astonishing, quietly shaping modern life. From tortillas sizzling on a griddle in Mexico City to animal feed in Beijing, American corn impacts billions daily. Its journey spans continents, cultures, and economies, connecting distant lives through a single, golden grain. But this stability is under threat, driven by global politics and economic conflict. Shifting alliances, trade wars, and unpredictable policies cast long shadows over these fields. The story of corn mirrors America itself: ingenuity, hard work, and relentless productivity. Generations of farmers have poured their sweat and hope into these fields, building a legacy of abundance. American farmers, the most efficient globally, harness cutting-edge technology for staggering yields. Precision agriculture, advanced genetics, and innovation drive record harvests year after year. This abundance feeds a growing population and makes the U.S. a dominant agricultural force. American corn travels the world, filling plates and powering economies far beyond its birthplace. Yet this power is challenged by man-made barriers, not natural disasters. Political decisions, tariffs, and trade restrictions can halt the flow of corn in an instant. The consequences are far-reaching, affecting everyone from farmers to families at the dinner table. When trade falters, prices rise and uncertainty spreads. Trade disputes send shockwaves through this intricate system, disrupting markets and livelihoods. The ripple effects are felt in rural towns and global cities alike. Tariffs become weapons in a global economic battle, turning cornfields into battlefields. The struggle is not just economic, it's deeply personal for those who depend on the land. Farmers caught in the crossfire face life-changing impacts. Their livelihoods, traditions, and communities hang in the balance, threatened by forces beyond their control. Decisions in world capitals directly affect the American heartland. Every handshake, every policy sends ripples through these fields and the lives they sustain. This essay delves into this hidden crisis, exploring history, current turmoil, and personal stories. It's a journey through the past, present, and uncertain future of America's most vital crop. It's a story of corn, tariffs, and turmoil, revealing vulnerabilities in our interconnected world, and reminding us how something as simple as a kernel of corn can shape the fate of nations. The story of American corn dominance begins thousands of years ago, with Native Americans as the original stewards of this remarkable crop. They carefully selected and cultivated corn, transforming it from wild grass into a staple food source that would sustain entire communities. Their agricultural expertise laid the foundation for what would become a cornerstone of American agriculture. When European settlers arrived, they quickly realized that learning to grow corn was essential for their survival in the New World. Native Americans taught them planting techniques, and soon, corn became a lifeline for the settlers, helping them endure harsh winters and unfamiliar landscapes. Over the centuries, corn production exploded, fueled by groundbreaking innovations like the steel plow, which made it easier to cultivate vast fields, and the development of hybrid seeds, which dramatically increased yields. These advances transformed corn farming into a major industry. The United States soon became the undisputed king of corn, with endless fields stretching across the Midwest. Corn became not just a crop, but a symbol of American identity and a driving force behind the nation's economic power. At first, most of this corn was used domestically. It fed the growing population, nourished livestock, and supported rural communities. Corn was woven into the fabric of everyday American life. But everything changed in the 1970s. When global trade opened up new markets for America's surplus corn, suddenly corn was not just feeding the nation, it was feeding the world. Trade agreements lowered barriers, and countries like Japan and Mexico quickly became major buyers of American corn. These new relationships transformed the industry, making international demand a key driver of prosperity. American farmers now found themselves linked to global markets, their fortunes rising and falling with international demand and diplomatic relations. Corn exports became a symbol of American influence abroad. The signing of NAFTA in 1994 eliminated tariffs and made Mexico an even more crucial customer, further integrating American corn into the global economy. This era of free trade spurred massive investment and growth in the corn industry. Farmers expanded their operations, built new infrastructure, and adopted cutting-edge technology to meet rising demand. However, this growing reliance on foreign markets also created new vulnerabilities. Farmers became increasingly dependent on the stability of international trade. In the late 2010s, a wave of economic nationalism and protectionist policies swept across the globe, disrupting established trade flows and introducing new uncertainties. The era of open markets faced unprecedented challenges as trade agreements were questioned, renegotiated, and sometimes even abandoned. The future of American corn exports suddenly seemed less certain. The delicate balance that had sustained American corn for decades was about to be shattered, leaving farmers and the industry facing an uncertain and turbulent future. In 2018, a trade war with China imposed tariffs on billions of dollars of goods. China retaliated with a 25% tariff on U.S. corn, soybeans, and farm goods. American corn became expensive for Chinese buyers, who turned to Brazil and Argentina. Overnight, a major market for U.S. farmers vanished, plummeting corn prices. The trade war dragged on, with broken trust and rerouted supply chains. Chinese importers diversified, reducing reliance on the U.S. farmers faced uncertainty, with reliable markets no longer assured. Trade disputes flared with other partners, adding complexity. Mexico's potential bans on U.S. corn signaled a desire for self-sufficiency. As of late 2025, the trading environment remains unstable. Farmers plan under political uncertainty, questioning market access. The predictable trading system is now chaotic, leaving farmers vulnerable. The era is defined by volatility and unpredictability. Tariffs ripple beyond farms, affecting entire rural communities. Reduced farmer income leads to less spending, impacting local businesses. Equipment dealers, construction companies, and diners see declines. The economic ecosystem of small towns, built around agriculture, weakens. Social consequences include young people leaving for cities, schools facing cuts, and hospitals struggling. The fabric of rural life strains, with anxiety replacing shared prosperity. Politically, the Farm Belt support shifts due to economic pain. Farmers feel betrayed by politicians, promised benefits unfulfilled. Farm consolidation accelerates, with smaller farms selling to corporations. The countryside sees fewer family farmers, more corporate mega-farms. This changes rural America's character, eroding the independent farmer model. The crisis is economic and a crisis of identity. The impact is profound and far-reaching. To truly understand the crisis facing rural America, you have to listen to the people who live it every single day. Their voices, often overlooked, reveal the real impact of economic uncertainty and shifting policies on the ground. In Iowa, Dave Jensen, a third-generation farmer, says it feels like the rug has been pulled out from under him. He's watched his family's legacy, built over decades, suddenly become fragile. Years of hard work building markets and relationships are now threatened by forces beyond his control, leaving entire communities on edge. Input costs for seed, fertilizer, and fuel keep climbing, but corn prices remain stubbornly low. For many, the math just doesn't add up, making it harder to keep the farm afloat. Maria Flores, who runs a small family farm, shares how the constant stress and worry take a toll, not just on finances, but on mental health and family life. The weight of financial uncertainty hangs over kitchen tables across the Heartland as families struggle to plan for a future that feels increasingly out of reach. Decisions made in distant government offices, often by people who have never set foot on a farm, can determine whether these families survive or lose everything. At a local community college, students from farming backgrounds are forced to question whether there's a future for them in agriculture or if they should look elsewhere. Ben Carter, a student whose family has farmed for generations, wonders if he should take over the family farm or choose a different path, given the risks and instability. Farming is in his blood, a tradition passed down through generations, but the harsh financial realities make the decision more difficult than ever. Even those who once supported tough trade stances now express frustration, feeling caught between political promises and the harshness of daily life. A local grain elevator manager says what farmers need most is not just temporary aid, but stable, predictable markets that allow them to plan and invest in their future. Government aid helps in the short term, but it's just a bandage. It doesn't address the root problems or offer lasting solutions. What farmers truly need is access to reliable, long-term markets, opportunities to sell their crops and sustain their way of life for generations to come. This crisis is not just about numbers or policies. It's deeply personal, affecting families, communities, and the very fabric of rural America. For these families, stability and predictability aren't just economic terms, they're the foundation for survival, hope, and the future of America's heartland. Data confirms the farmer's story. Before the trade war, U.S. corn exports to China were rising. Tariffs caused an 80% drop in exports, disrupting revenue streams. Farm income fluctuated, with government aid providing temporary boosts. Farm bankruptcies spiked, indicating severe financial distress. Aid programs created dependency, distorting markets. Commodity prices fell as surplus corn flooded the U.S. Basic economics increased supply, decreased demand, lower prices. Corn prices remained low, squeezing profit margins. The trade disputes put sustained downward pressure on prices. The data tells a story of lost income and market instability. The impact is measured in billions of dollars. The crisis is real and ongoing. To understand the situation, we spoke with Dr. Amelia Thorne, an agricultural economist. Global trade is like a network of highways with tariffs as roadblocks. China built new routes to Brazil and Ukraine, reducing U.S. reliance. The U.S. trade policy inadvertently subsidized competitors. Brazil expanded corn production, filling the gap in China. The U.S. encouraged customers to find reliable suppliers. Consumers face complex impacts with short-term price changes. Trade wars create inefficiencies, raising global food costs. Rebuilding trust is challenging, with lost reputations hard to regain. Even if tariffs were removed, the world has changed. Buyers diversify suppliers, reducing dependence on one country. U.S. dominance in the corn market faces greater competition. The future is uncertain, with increased global competition. The impact is profound and long-lasting. The era of unquestioned dominance is over. The farm crisis is a potent political issue, dividing American politics. Parties fight for the rural vote, offering different solutions. One party sees trade stances as necessary for sovereignty, the other blames trade wars for economic hardship. The countryside is politically energized and divided. The crisis exposes a disconnect between political rhetoric and economic reality. We stand at a critical crossroads. The story of American corn is now a cautionary tale. The crisis exposes vulnerabilities in a globalized world. The future depends on choices made now. Will the U.S. repair trade relationships or continue protectionism? The decision impacts agriculture's role globally. Farmers seek stability, predictability, and market access. They are resilient, but need support. The future of American corn depends on cooperation. The next chapter is unwritten, and we all play a role. The crisis is a wake-up call for change. The stakes are high, and the path forward is uncertain. The story of American corn continues, shaped by our choices.